Welcome to the Worship Keys YouTube channel. My name is Carson Bruce. So glad you're here. We talk all things music theory, gear, industry, and ministry for your worship keys playing. If this episode is beneficial for you or you have any questions as you continue to watch, feel free to comment below, and I'd love to hear any feedback that you have along the way. So let's get into today's episode. Well, guys, we're going to get into David Ramirez template. So your Logic Pro X template for what you do helps your workflow, helps you work faster. So guys, check it out. Let's get into it, man.
Well, whenever I am producing a song or I'm working for a different producer and my role is keys and synth and drum programming, I usually start with this template. Even when I'm songwriting in a session and I have a producer-writer role, this is the template I start with, and it has everything I would most of the time need. I've spent a lot of time gathering sounds, and I always think of sounds as like color palettes. So the same way we think of like a painter who's about to paint a large, beautiful painting, there's a bunch of, they have to pick out, okay, what's my color palette? And so they get a bunch of colors before they start painting. This is a lot of years of work, but I've got little folders here with very quickly accessible like bass synths. Let's do this. And this plugin called Arcade, which is great. I use it a lot for things I call micro loops. I have a ton of drone starting situations and a ton of pianos, like your raw organic pianos, a lot of grands and a lot of uprights. Same thing with intimate pianos. They're more like felt, very like textured pianos, a bunch of hammered keys like dulcimers and plucky things that are on the organic side, and a bunch of synth starters that are organized into pads, gates or plucky arp things, more stabby type synths, and then more swelly type synths. And they're all just colors and different tonal characteristics, but they're kind of designed the same way. And then I have like a mellotron folder because I like mellotrons, and then a lot of string type starters. And I'll like go to one of these whenever I know I need to access it. So just quick run through, like bass synths, they're always pretty quick. I just kind of scroll through them. I've got my mod wheel programmed most of the time to something. Depending on the song or the track, I'll kind of scroll through stuff, see what the vibe is. Oh, that's something, but so they're all just kind of starting points. Same with drones. It's like there's a lot of starting sounds, and I'll kind of find like voicings. And there's, they're all pretty quick to access. I've spent a lot of time finding these sounds. They're sounds that I've pre-dialed within the plugins. Same thing with pianos, like especially writing a song, or if I'm writing the piano part, sometimes we'll track a real piano, but sometimes you just need like access to something. And they're all different colors, and I usually try to see what the song feels like the sound is going to be. So there's going to be a lot of these grands. some uprights. And then these are like my more intimate sounds, like more felty. I love this Woodchester. I use it a lot. Actually, as a layer. So something as simple as like layering that very organic felty thing with a very clean like grand, like this noir that I use a lot. Could layer them. And then I could, you know, blend it to where you get a little bit of extra texture. And that's just like one move I may do sometimes, depending on the song. I love this midnight one. I'm always looking for creative sounds. More felty kind of things. Instead of like spending 30 minutes trying to find a good piano and then scrolling through like my plugins, going to instruments. Okay, what piano could I use? They're all right here, and depending on the type of song, if it's like a slow, intimate, kind of moody song, I may lean toward the intimate ones. If it's like a big, grand, like pop song, I might lean to a cleaner, grand sound. Then I always look for organic sounds, so I'm always going to have these kind of hammered keys, especially with worship music. It's kind of been a thing that I've done for a long time. So there's always these things. I'm always looking for different colors, and again, I could layer these plenty of times together. Like, I could layer that with this one. There's tons of these as well. Just different types of organic, plucky. You can make a lot of cool little arps. And so I always like raw sounds because then it enables me to approach something, you know, from like a clean slate, even though I've got these starting points. So then it's easy to, you know, add more plugins to it, like always that little verby thing. And on my laptop, I have all these kind of preset to a general starting point that I like. But there's, you know, then I like the raw sounds, and then it's kind of like a guitar player, you know, you want your raw guitar tone to be really nice. I kind of approach keys the same way, and then I can add effects after. So I've got my like synth kind of folder. It's the same kind of idea. It's a bunch of synth colors doing the same things. That's a weird mod. And if a song needs a pad, which one fits in the mix better in the right keys. And again, tons of these. I've always got these plucky synths on hand with a little ARP thing. Same thing, mod wheels pre-programmed. I could open up these so y'all could kind of see these too. Do it this way. Again, they're all just different colors. that sound, and the song needs just like big open stabs on like a chorus, a really long tail. More stabs. Let's do this. I'll kind of just go through all of them so you have everything. It's all there in the background, and it's all deactivated until you activate it. So I love synth swells. I just kind of pre-program these to have different feels. It's just a lot of colors. A lot of these synth stuffs can be a lot of the Arturia kind of things. I like Mellotrons. Got a handful of different ones. I also have a real Mellotron I use a lot. Well, a reissue. Well, a digital remake, not a reissue. So these are all just raw sounds. I use strings a lot in the same kind of way as drones. They just have a lot more texture than like a keys or synth pad would have. I tend to use like stuff like shimmer on this kind of thing. I also like this delay. I usually will do a save as default situation on all these on my laptop. I like doing stuff like that, and then you could always throw like a shimmer on top. So I always have these like things kind of readily. That's kind of the idea of what I just basically create starting points. They're all sounds that I've spent a lot of time dialing in, and I know whenever I load it, I know what to expect. It's not like you have a random plugin and then you're like, what are these presets? What is harmonic waves? I don't know if I would use that. Maybe. These might be organized, but you're getting like a ton of different genres. I've just curated a template that with general sounds that I gravitate towards. Okay, so I use arcade a ton, and I have a way of using these presets as well. Oh. So like I'll find little samples often. So say I like this little sound and I'm in a different key, I'll just go here and I'll manipulate this. Say there's a little micro loop in here that I like. I'll just grab that guy. You can mess with different keys, octaves, and I'll just sample that one thing. And I'll kind of do the same thing with just different engines within. I usually will go in a plugin and favorite a bunch of things that I like within that plugin, the same way I've created my template. Like, say I just like that one little guy. I can mess with this stuff. I like using this a lot. Probably there's something like. And that could be a great song starter. For context, what was it? So that's kind of the thing. I'll just leave this for now. Let's go up an octave. Why not? Let's do a little verby boy. Always. You know, just a little starting point of inspiration. Let's see. This is starting to trip out. So I find these little micro loops, and there's always tons of sounds to scroll through. And I always go in this mode because then I could see the file, and then I just, you know, say I just like this little guy. Yeah, that's what I use Arcade a lot, and I can do the same kind of thing within Splice. You know, I'll find different loops in Splice and pick the key and all that stuff. It's a whole different approach. But I have a whole folder dedicated to Arcade specifically. More sounds. Little string guy. And they're more just beds. I find a way of building beds within kind of something. Like if I were to do, maybe not strings, but this guy. So now we can just build a song around whatever that is. Anyways, that's kind of the general template of starting points. The other side of the thing is I talk to many other producers that have spent years doing templates, and they're like, I will not do a template because it will force me into a lane. But for me, it's just more about time saving. I've kind of personally built my template to where I identify with each of these sounds in some kind of way. They're not just really random sounds to me, and they're just kind of like starting points. And I'm never going to go through every single plugin when I'm working on a song. It's just, oh, I need a plucky synth. It's right there. And if these don't do it, then I'll start going through my other plugins and finding something else, because I have tons of other plugins that I also use that aren't on my templates. It just depends how much you're doing it. For a lot of producers who do a lot of different tracks and songs for different artists, having a template just expedites the speed and how fast you can work. So if a song's going to take me 6 to 8 hours a day to knock out everything that I would normally do in the keys and synth piano world, then I could save 1.5 hours from my template that I've already done per song. And so then it's like, how many hours of my life did I save because I built this template for myself for things that I naturally gravitate to? Mind you, every 1 or 2 years I scrap this template and redo it so that I don't keep doing this, regurgitating the same thing over and over. There's pros and cons. It's to be fast, but if anything, I used to delete the template. Now I just expand it or modify it more so. So when I first started and I was in college, had no money, had big dreams to do music, I would buy like one keyboard and learn everything that could be learned on that one keyboard. Even if it's like a cheap Casio or something, I would learn every single sound, go through every patch, and familiarize myself with, even just within a Casio. Okay, here's your marimba. And I know I'll always know what that sounds like. So if I ever am working on a track or a song, I'm like, I need that sound. I know where it comes from, and I know, okay, we need a Casio. But to scroll back is hilarious. I would buy this, say, cheap Casio, like $50 keyboard, learn everything, and then, okay, I'm bored with this. I've exhausted the sounds from this. I would sell it, get my $50 back, try to find something else. And then just over the years, I started upgrading my equipment. And I think the first synth, like analog synth I bought, was a Korg DW8000. It's an digitally analog synth. It's analog enough, but all the there's no sliders or knobs. It's all touch screen buttons. It's very annoying to program something. But then eventually I would get like a Juno and like multiple like sequential circuits. Now then they became Dave Smith, and now they're sequential, but had many different iterations of Dave Smith synths that I would use, a lot of Moog, and I use the Prophet a ton. At least in the last 2-3 years, I use it on a ton of projects. Again, I would just exhaust everything. I would dive into what is the Prophet, learn every little knob, every detail of it, and know it like the back of my hand. So then it becomes this tool. So if I'm working on a record live with a band and I'm using a Prophet, depending on the project, if it's more worship leaning, if it's more gospel leaning, if it's more pop, with electronic stuff, the same way I've picked my tools here, I'll pick my hardware instruments. If it's a live recording and it's a gospel thing, then I'm like, okay, there's already a B3 player, there's already a piano player, and I'm just covering textures and sounds. I gravitate towards a mellotron and maybe an analog synth like the Prophet, and then I'm sitting in a different tonal frequency kind of space that's not going to clash with a B3 or piano, and I'm just finding the pockets where I can fit in and also not clash with whatever guitar players are doing. So then I always think of music as sound palettes. What does this album need? And then from there, it's okay, what do these songs need? And then from the songs, it's like, okay, what do these sections and moments need? Having all these available sounds that I've prepped and gathered over many years of doing it just expedite the process. So, yeah, dive into every little piece of gear, even if it's a $10 keyboard you found at Goodwill, and run it through a pedal or something. And if you don't have pedal, run it into Logic and then throw a verb or delay or a chorus or whatever, a distortion, and you'll find a whole new palette of sounds just from one little toy keyboard.
Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed seeing David's template on Logic Pro X, what he works through when he approaches a new song. Next week, we're going to see a detailed actual project of something you've been working on for a while. What's the name of the song?
Here and Now.
Here and Now.
Yeah, by Heart Room Worship.
By Heart Room.
Alliance Worship.
Okay. Y'all go check out that song. And if you love it, which you will, because it's super catchy, super awesome. Sound design is incredible. It's all thanks to David here, and I guess producer.
And everybody else
and everyone.
involved. There's
everyone.
engineers, there's musicians, there's vocalists.
Everyone. It's a team effort.
Editors, mixers, masters.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a whole team effort.
Yeah.
But you guys go listen to that song and get a little sneak preview for next week. But definitely tune in next week here on the Worship Keys. Maybe you're viewing this weeks or months later, so it's already available. So go ahead and click on the next video. You guys can check that out. But David, thanks so much for being on the podcast today, man.
Yeah, of course.